Hi everyone, and welcome to our sleep fun facts quiz, or just to more fun information about sleep. You're joining Ian and myself tonight. I'm Katrina Buckley, and although Ian is now showing us Gemma, I can assure you his name is Ian.
I'll see if I can change that.
And he's not taking on his alter ego. Not taking on his alter ego tonight. So yeah, welcome. Thanks along for joining us. You may join us as we go through the quiz tonight, but it is likely probably you'll join us at a later date when we share this onto our Superheroes YouTube channel. So Ian and I are looking forward to just having some fun tonight, sharing some interesting facts, some fun facts, and some really helpful information to you that will help us understand more about sleep and any problems that you may be having at home with sleep. And hopefully we can share some useful information to help you with that. A little bit more about ourselves. If you've been joining us on the webinar series, then you'll have obviously met us before, but as I say, my name is Katrina Buckley. I have been part of the NLP for Kids, NLP for Kids organisation for a few years now, and part of the not-for-profit organisation Superheroes, which works alongside NLP for Kids. And I've been there for 3 or 4 years now, so I've thoroughly enjoyed it, having a great time, and we have a great team of practitioners who are all part of the team across the UK. I am the only one based in Scotland currently, and I have my own coaching business, which is called School of Thought. And within that, I work with the NLP and the Superheroes team. A little bit about yourself, Ian?
Yes, so I run a company called Aylesbury Therapy for Kids. As you are, I'm very much aligned with NLP for Kids. I've been for something over 4 years now, pushing 5 years, in fact. I work at a school in Reading on Monday, which is good fun, a secondary school. The rest of the week I'm doing one-to-ones and workshops with kids online. So for me, being online is great because it allows my reach to go that much further. So I'll now deal with people 40, 50, 60 miles away instead of just a few miles away when we were doing face-to-face. So yeah, all good. So yeah, happy days.
Yeah, it is, and I think the online world, I think I've mentioned before that I actually was a bit resistant to it, and I thought, well, I'm not too sure how this is going to go when we all sort of moved to doing these by video sessions. Well, I actually think it's working really, really well, and I'm a bit like yourself, Ian. I've got, within the coaching business, I'm seeing one-to-one, working with young people, working with families and parents over the course of the week, and I've got them over the length and breadth of the UK. Not just restricted to Scotland, but yeah, I've got them down in England as well. So it's really, really good, and I actually think it's opened up and it's made things a little bit more possible rather than the sort of limitations with that sort of geographical limitations. So no, yeah, it's a really positive thing. And even with schools, although we've not been able to do face-to-face in Scotland with schools, we've obviously still had options where we've been able to go online and work with young people online in schools. So yeah, all well, really, really good. Okay, so on to the sleep quiz, or the fun facts as we like to call it. Now I know you've sort of prepared some information there, Ian, so if you're happy to sort of start off with what you've prepared, and then I'll just sort of intertwine in with that, and between us I'm sure we'll have lots that we can share tonight.
Yeah, for sure. So if we start off right at the very beginning, really, so how much sleep do children need? Yeah. It's a question we often get asked from parents that are pulling their hair out with their child who's sleeping hardly at all. So it's not an unusual subject of conversation. But if we're looking at the NHS website or various other websites, they seem to have a similar view. So for a toddler, sort of 0 to 11 months old, kind of 12 to 15 hours. Yeah. That's including naps and so on. Heaven forbid they would sleep through. I doubt they will at that age. Yeah. For a toddler of 1 to 2 hours, 1 to 2 years old, 11 to 14. Preschool, 10 to 13 hours, including naps, most likely for the younger end of that spectrum. When they're coming up 5 years old, the naps start to die out, as we know, but they're still going to be kind of 10, 13 hours. School age, so 6 to 13-year-olds, that's still 9 to 11 hours. So certainly it still needs to be a good chunk of sleep. if your child's going to bed at 7 o'clock and waking up at 6, that's giving you 11 hours. So that's a sensible number to have for a 6 to 13-year-old. 13 to 8 years old doesn't change a huge amount. It's still 8 to 10 hours. Yeah. So 8 to 10 hours generally is what a child is going to need, a sort of secondary school age child is going to need. And when you're talking about adults, it's still 7 to 10 hours. So again, not much difference.
Not much different.
Certainly for me, I'm thinking 7 to 10. Yeah. Yeah. Certainly if I don't get 7 hours, I'm thinking like, I feel a bit whacked today. Yeah. Which isn't necessarily a problem. I still function adequately well, but certainly I'm better if I'm getting sort of 8, 9, 10 hours. Yeah. 10 hours is a real treat, actually, but it does happen sometimes.
I think 10 hours for me, I would be like, oh, okay, I've missed half my day. I would start to panic that I've missed too much. I've overslept. Yeah.
Yes. It would normally happen if I went to bed much earlier than usual. So bed is normally sort of 9, 10, 11 o'clock. So if I made an effort and went to bed at 8, yeah, I'm up at 6 in the morning. That would be a good 10-hour stretch, and I would go like, oh yeah, feeling good today. Yeah. But that would be unusual. It's more likely to be a sort of 10 till 6. Yeah. Okay. So that's generally how much sleep children need. If we start to look at some of the things that impact on sleep, because there's a whole range of things. And looking at the things that impact on sleep and the, if you like, the way you set things up for going to sleep, that's called sleep hygiene. And sleep hygiene in young children is vitally important, because if you're getting it wrong then, it's going to be wrong for a long time. So you need to really concentrate on getting that sleep hygiene right from a young age. So things to think about. Caffeine. We don't generally think of younger children drinking caffeine, but they do, because it's in fizzy drinks.
Yeah.
So if they're guzzling fizzy drinks all day, then that's going to impact on their ability to fall asleep later in the day. Food. Don't send your children to bed on a heavy stomach of food. You know, a great big cod chips with sausage and batter and a big ice cream for pudding, and then to bed is not going to work. Yeah, that child is not going to sleep well if they sleep very quickly at all. They're probably going to take several hours to get to sleep, and it'll probably be disturbed sleep with a big belly full like that. Yeah, so try and leave at least a couple of hours before a big meal and sleep. Yeah.
I think as well, I'd read, just to add to that, Ian, two things. I think I was reading earlier about, you were saying about the amount of caffeine, that the equivalent amount of the caffeine that young people can have, and I suppose particularly maybe heading into more teenagers, sort of the older young children into the teenage years, it's like the equivalent of 3 cans of Coke that they can consume in a day. So if I personally as an adult was consumed 3 cans of Coke, I wouldn't sleep, because the caffeine would be just too much for me. But the other thing you're saying about eating too close to bed, the thing about that is when we have too much in our stomach to digest, it actually takes away the energy that we need, that we would be using for sleep, because it's then using it to digest that big heavy food which is sitting there, which is then why we find it tricky, we find it more difficult to then fall over into sleep.
Yes, I hadn't realised, but I was reading some notes and it was saying that the digestive system will overheat the body in its effort to consume that food.
To consume. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I hadn't even put 2 and 2 together. So, yeah. Exercise, key thing, get those kids running around, not just before bed, but get them to go running around after school, well before their evening meal. Get them tired, get them plenty of fresh air, get them doing stuff that's interesting, that engages their mind. Because a child who comes home from school, sits down, watches a bit of telly, does a bit of homework, they're probably not going to be knackered by the time it's bedtime, and they'll be not keen to go to sleep, and it's unlikely to happen. So engage with them, get them out there running around, getting them some fresh air, and just get them getting rid of some of that energy.
Yeah, energy, because that's it. If we don't use the energy up, then we are overstimulated when we go to bed. So therefore, we can't send the signal. The message isn't going to the brain to say it's time to sleep.
Yes.
And that's the message that the brain wants, isn't it?
Yes.
We don't want to overstimulate.
Yes, we all know what it's like when we, well, perhaps we know a bit more than we used to, but certainly when we go out for a walk, which all of us are doing at the moment because there's nothing else to do. But you go for that extra long walk with the kids. By the time you get them home and they're sitting down and relaxing, they're kind of yawning. Yeah, and you're thinking, no, don't go to sleep yet. Yep. Because it's the sort of thing that does get you tired. So
Yeah.
get them out there, get them walking, get them running around, get them doing something. The environment that a child sleeps in is important. So you don't want a room that is full of blue screens. You don't want a room that has got a telephone in it. Ideally, you don't want a TV, particularly for the youngsters. So you want that room to be set up right. Maybe you want to use a night light. Maybe your child doesn't like the dark. We can help with that, but maybe they don't. So if you need a night light, that's fine. Some of us use music, not heavy rock, but light music that's going to encourage sleep. Some of us play an ebook for our children, a poem, a story, whatever it may be. Some of us might use meditation music or meditation CDs, which again are great. So that room needs to be a room that is for sleeping. Ideally, it needs to not be a room that they play in, or at least not overly often, so that they associate that room with being where you go to sleep. So as they walk in the door, they're thinking, oh, yeah, I'm tired. That's kind of what
It's a trigger, the trigger for sleep,
Yeah. So having that room set up in the right way is the right thing to do, for sure.
I was just going to add to that, when you mentioned there about light, some children and young people like to have that light in the room just to sort of a sense of security. But obviously light is stimulating, even blue light and then sort of green light is very stimulating, so it stimulates the brain. And it sort of produces the serotonin, and we don't want that. We want the melatonin. What I've read is what I found very interesting is if you use red lights in kids' rooms and bathrooms, it's the least disruptive to sleep. So if we do need to put a light on, then it is recommended that we use a red light, because that is less disruptive. And then it means that it won't suppress the melatonin as much as the blue or the green light, the white light as well. So that's another tip there. Thing you were saying there about the room, making sure that it's a space where we sleep and relax. Well, obviously with homeschooling now, we're sort of moving out of that, and obviously play. If you can separate the space as well, that's a good one too. So if you've got a room that has got the space where you can have a separate space for, that's where you do your play and this is where you sleep, that can also help. And you can just have the rooms structured in a way that it's very obvious that that's the play area, and it, perhaps even be curtained off at night time, so that's a trigger that then says, well, we don't want that space, we're not going to see that space anymore, so therefore it's not going to stimulate our mind. So it's just another way to help parents who maybe don't have the space to have separate play. If you can, then maybe separate the areas in the room to trigger, this is what you do. So don't have them playing on their bed, or don't have them doing their schoolwork on their bed. Be specific, maybe have a desk area, or have an area in the room where that's where they play, or it's a rug or something that you put down which then says this is where you play. And it just gives them that, that trigger, that anchor to associate, with that particular space.
Yes, and then I think the routine that you follow to get a child to bed, and as I say, this is really from a young age, needs to be a set routine. So if it's a bath or shower, and then it's a story, and then it's bed, then that's what you do every night, at the same time every night. Yeah. If it's, okay, let's go and have a play, we have a family game, a family time, then we do the shower, then we do a story, then we do bed. It needs to be the same every time, because the child needs to get used to, right, I'm on that pathway now, I know where this is going, and they kind of give into it, and that's that. And if you're not setting those rules earlier, if one night it's a bath and one night it's not, one night it's a story and then it's not, then the child becomes confused and isn't quite sure, oh, where's this going? Oh, are we going to play? Oh, we're not going to play. Oh, yes, we are. Yeah, that's just not great for the child. So they need that comfortable, warm, hugging routine that's going to say, we're on our way to bed. Now, that routine might be as long as a couple of hours. It might be half an hour, depends what you do in your own household, and it's fine whichever you do. But they know when that routine has started. Right, okay, fine, I'm on my way to bed. And that's where the routine finishes. They're in bed. Yeah.
That's right. So it kind of triggers that thought process, that it is time for bed. I know some people will use, and I have used that in the past with my children. I've used aromatherapy, so lavender would be put, we would start infusing lavender in the areas next to the bedrooms to trigger that the smell of lavender was relaxation time. We would do that about an hour before bed. Then, 45 minutes, you would start that routine of teeth brush, pajamas on, read your book, and that whole process. As soon as they started to smell the sensory smell of the lavender, it was, it's time to relax, it's time to stop playing, and it's time to relax, to transition in. So that's also another, a really useful thing to do, is just to use sort of aromatherapy to help with those those routines, and establishing them as part of the bedtime routine.
That's quite a trigger, isn't it? Yeah. And that does send a very definite signal. It's bedtime.
It's bedtime. Lavender, chamomile, all those kind of nice subtle ones. They send that little trigger that says, it's time to. You feel it yourself. You go, I can smell the lavender. It's time.
Yes.
But you just naturally just settle.
Peaceful rain soon. Excellent. Technology, obviously, children are getting Game Boys, Nintendos, all that kind of stuff much earlier, much younger than they used to. It's not unusual to see a 5-year-old with an iPad. It's like, really? But yeah, I get it. And you really want those things out of the way early on in that routine. So if your aim is to get your child in bed for 7 and sleep, let's say, by 7:30, then really probably 5 o'clock is the last time you want them having anything to do with the technological items that they have access to. So it finishes 5 o'clock, no more games. We're about to start the bed routine, so no more games. If they're older, then adjust that time accordingly, obviously. But they certainly shouldn't have access to those iPads, phones, whatever it is, in bed. Because if they do, you're going to put them to bed, say goodnight, and they're going to go, they're going to be on it straight away, and they won't be going to bed till the small hours. So those items need to be not available to them when you're starting the bed routine, and not available to them when they're in bed.
Yeah, and I think I've recommended to some parents to just remove the electronics out of the room, or just they go away at a certain time, and they're not locked away, but they're stored away, and it's time for them to finish, because we know that the blue light is going to stimulate rather than producing the melatonin. And if we've got, which we've probably found during the whole homeschooling, is we've got young people who are in the house on computers all day, either playing on them or they have been using them for the schoolwork, then they're absorbing that blue light the whole day, which is not going to help the melatonin getting released in the evening when we need it to relax. So another thing you can do there is you can get the blue glasses. If you've seen them, it's just the slightly blue tinted glasses with the green. That really works to try and filter out. So if the kids are using it a lot during the day because we have to use it, then that's another way to help maybe just filter out that blue light so that it's not building up throughout the course of the day as well, to add to that problem at night time.
Yes, and these things are so important, because you don't want your 14, 15, 16-year-old teenager up till 2 o'clock in the morning talking to their mates, because they will. If they learn that actually you can have access to these goodies after bedtime, then that will stay with them and they'll continue to do it and it'll become later and later and later. You know,
Well, but we know teenagers can become night owls. It is part of the makeup of them, and you know, if they've got their electronics in their room, then they will naturally, if they can't sleep, I'll just pick up my phone. And if we have our phones, even us as adults, if we have our phones or devices in the room with us, then it actually can be a source of anxiety because it can play in your mind and you can go, I wonder if somebody's messaged. I wonder if this is happening. And if you've got an alert system on your phone, it beeps. So if you're a young person, and if we struggle to sort of control our reactions to that, then a young person's going to, you know, they're going to be the same. So they're just going to be on their phones the whole time. Oh, such and such messaged me, I better answer right now. And then that can lead to some anxiety. And then when we're anxious, we're not going to settle into that restful place that we need to be when we want to go to sleep.
It's interesting because I'm when I go to bed, my phone stays downstairs. It doesn't come upstairs at all. Yeah. My wife takes it to bed.
Yeah.
And she's laying in bed going, it drives me nuts. Like, because I can see the blue screen, I can hear what she's doing, and I'm thinking, just go to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're so like caught up in it, aren't we? Like I do take mine to bed with me just purely because our house phone didn't work for a long time, so it was in the case of emergencies when my husband worked away. But what I had to start doing was I set a bedtime routine on my phone now so that it switches itself off. It goes into do not disturb for an hour before I go to my bed so that I don't get message alerts in. And then it stays on do not disturb until it's due to come on in the morning for the alarm coming off, but it allows those important numbers to come through in an emergency. And since I've had that function, this is brilliant. I'm like, oh, this is wonderful, this is great. So I can have best of both worlds. But I don't encourage my children obviously to do that because they would obviously just switch to do not disturb off and they would go straight on to using it in the other way. But I've got that self-control to not do that. But you know, that's a great thing. You know,
do such a thing. Yeah.
I trust them implicitly. But yeah, so that's a good way as well as us as adults, you know, and I know we're not talking, but as adults, we can put that on so that we've got that. If we need to have our phones in a room, then we can still put the, you know, and it's a good way even to get your children with the phones is to put it into do not disturb, you know, into sleep mode at a certain time so that to them it becomes part of the routine when my phone's going to sleep. So that means I'm going to sleep. Yeah. And it can add into the routine.
Yeah, excellent. Something that is a big concern for those children that are having sleep issues, self-settling is a big issue because they wake up, first thing they do is they come downstairs, if that's where the parents are, or they might come into your room. They might climb into your bed. That is not great, and you just need to take them by the hand, say, yes, Johnny, you're okay, everything's fine, let me take you back to bed. You walk them back to bed, kiss them goodnight, and leave them there and go back to bed. You don't stay with them until they fall asleep. Maybe you'll stay a couple of minutes just to comfort them, but you're not going to sit there for an hour waiting for them to go to sleep. No. Yeah, you go back to bed. Okay, maybe you won't settle, but if you want to, get up in 15 minutes and go and check if they're asleep. But they are, because if they weren't, they'd be coming back to you. So they are asleep, so get some sleep. Yeah, but that self-settling of a child is so important, particularly in the early years. If they're not self-settling at a young age, they won't self-settle at a later age, and it'll become a pain in the bottom. So get used to that self-settling. And it might well mean that if that's not happening at the moment, you've got to go through 2, 4, 6 weeks of pain where you're changing that routine. So if you need to change that routine, you need to sit your child down and have the conversation. Look, Johnny, this isn't working. You're in my room every single night at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's not going to happen anymore. So when you do that from now on, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and you're going to go to sleep. And then that's what you do. And you might well have a number of tantrums, a number of outbursts, but you just keep on doing it until it becomes a habit, yeah, for them and for you. So getting your child to self-settle is a big deal, because if you don't, it will come back to give you a pain in the bum. Yeah.
It will, yeah, and it can, I know some parents find self-settling quite tricky for their young people, especially, with that separation anxiety. Um, and I think offering reassurance is good. And as you say, it's the persistence and it's the consistency of the same, because we are creatures of habit and we actually respond really well when we have consistency. We need, as humans, we need consistency. So if we have that consistency for our young people and we're constant in what we're doing, that in itself brings in reassurance to our young people, because that's usually the biggest trigger for separation anxiety, is that need for reassurance and feeling that we're out of control and that something is going to happen and go wrong. So if we're consistent with that and there's constant, they then learn to trust that system. And as you say, it may be to start with that it can be a bit glitchy and you're going back and forth with each other. But after a period of time, that's going to change, because that trust in that setup, in that constant that they expect, will be there. So yeah, persistence and consistency is one of the two key words I say to all the parents I work with. Be persistent and be consistent.
Yes.
And just keep doing it. Yeah.
I was working with a mum earlier this year, and she was describing the problem of him coming into the bedroom every single night. Turns out when I was talking to the child, mum invites him in because mum gets lonely. So mum encourages him to come into the bedroom. Well, okay, you're making a rod for your own back there.
Yeah, and that's it. And sometimes you've got to say to parents, well, you've got to think about what is your behaviour, what is your reaction, what are you gaining from this happening, and what's stopping you from stopping it, So you've got to sort of question yourself. Sometimes as parents, we've got to step back and say, actually, we're probably causing this, so we need to change what we're doing.
Yes, and some parents find that quite hard because we don't all do confrontation well, and some parents see that as a confrontation. They don't want to invite that confrontation, so they allow it to go. Oh, it's only at 5 o'clock. Well, okay, if you're sleeping in till 7, then coming in and disturbing you at 5, that's enough to give you a broken night's sleep. Not great. Yeah, a broken night's sleep can cost you dear. So yeah, you do need to get that uniform thing in place where it's no, not my bed.
Yeah. It's it, yeah. And as you say, it's taking them back through to the room, and it's establishing the routine that they've got in their own bedroom, so that becomes their safe place that they want to be. And when you instill that safe place for them, then they'll want to stay in their own bedroom. They'll not want to come through to mum or through to dad's room. They'll want to stay there. So we need to put that trust and reassurance into their own safe space. And there's different ways that parents can do that, and they'll find their own ways to do that because it will work for them, and what works for the young person. But we do need to make sure that we are encouraging the children back into their own space, and not, as you say, kind of just giving into it and saying, oh, we'll just let it go this once, or we'll just let it go this once. Yeah. Even if you're really tired, you still need to get up and go through with them and go, okay, back into your own bed.
Yes. Before we move on, I'll just give a shout out for a couple of things actually. So people have heard us mention melatonin. Melatonin is a naturally occurring substance. We have it in our system anyway. And if you read about melatonin, you'll read various conflicting views. Some saying you should only take it as an adult, some saying you shouldn't take it without prescription, yada, 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 yada. However, I have got 4 or maybe 5 clients who use melatonin, and you don't tend to, or wouldn't tend to use it for a long period of time, but as a short, quick way of changing a sleeping routine, it can be really effective. So I've got one lad who is very, very ill. He's been prescribed melatonin, and without his melatonin, he can't sleep. His condition would prevent him from sleeping. So he uses melatonin just to get to sleep, and he manages to get some reasonable sleep by using it. I've been working with a young girl who's got a 4-year-old boy with, I wouldn't say he's got behavioural problems, but certainly his behaviour has been all over the show. There's various things going on in their life that are impacting on that, but his sleep has just been horrific. Waking up 2, 3, 4, 5 times a night, and she's been doing the come on, it's time to go back to bed. Let's go back to bed. So she's been doing all of that, but has just not been able to get him to sleep through the night. As of Tuesday last week, she took receipt of her order of melatonin, and I spoke to her yesterday, and she went, "Thank you."
Literally night and day.
Yes, yes. But she's actually getting a full night's sleep. The child is getting a full night's sleep. His behaviour is substantially different. He wakes up, he's full of the joys of life. They have a nice conversation. They have a good fun breakfast. They enjoy their walk to school. School have come back and said, "What have you done? What's happened to him?" Because there's been no behavioural issues throughout the course of the day. And he said, it's like someone has said, "No, we'll take him and you can have this one." Yeah.
Yeah,
She
we'll
said,
swap
it's
them
just
over.
like having a different child.
And that's really uplifting to hear, isn't it? Because I think what we all forget is sleep is crucial for all of us. So as a parent, in order for us to be in the best place to be able to support our children and make those good decisions and regulate our own emotions and be in a better mood and to have that good immunity so that we constantly have the energy to deal with it, we've got to have good sleep patterns as well. So if we're constantly getting disturbed, we are not going to have that same energy level or that same effort to put in to helping the kids with their sleep problems, for definitely sure. And when you're talking about melatonin there, what I was reading up and I thought was really interesting, and I've got it here, is in the mornings, what it does recommend to help for like us as adults to help us, work with our with children, is expose ourselves to bright light within a few minutes of waking up. Now, this can be standing in front of a bright window or going outside, or during the darker months that we're obviously just coming out of now, it can be bright. It can be bright light therapy as well. But basically, what that does is that the light is going to set up your body for having the proper cortisol and melatonin curves that we need throughout the day, because obviously it will peak up and down, and it basically aligns your body clock, so when bedtime does come, your body will be ready to enter the right phases at the right times, which is why, again, for young people, it's important that we get them outside for that natural daylight. And when we get that natural daylight, and as I say, we don't have to be outside for long periods of time, we just have to make sure that we are getting it. Whereas we notice it when I'm working with young people, when they're in school and they're out at break time and they're running around and they're in the fresh air and they're getting that natural daylight and they're out at lunchtime, they are different. Their energy levels are different. They settle better in class after after that. If they have an indoor break or they've been at home and they're doing homeworking, they're not getting that. They're in the house all day or they're stuck in school all day, and that makes a huge difference to their sleep patterns and how they then behave in the afternoon. So yeah, natural daylight is one. It does say here the morning sunlight of around 10,000 lux, which is brightness measurement, resets your and I don't know if I'm sounding this right, circadian rhythm for the day, so your cells and body systems all work at the appropriate times. It starts the production of serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter that makes you feel happy, and is also used in the synthesis of melatonin at night so you can sleep. So your sleep actually starts in the morning, so you actually set yourself up for the day in the morning so that you get the better sleep at night time. And I thought that was really interesting because I was like, oh, it didn't actually be. I always knew the importance of being out in fresh air and of natural daylight, but actually it's first thing in the morning, which is why I always feel better when I go out for a walk first thing in the morning. It kind of sets me up for the rest of the day. So now I've got the scientific evidence to prove it. So yeah, just when you talk about melatonin there, yeah. So I was reading about it earlier, and I thought that's really helpful. It's helpful for me at least, yeah.
Yes, I mean, I'm an early riser, so my normal routines, I'm normally up around 5:30. It's a cup of coffee, look at emails, do breakfast. Then it's the normal stuff you do before you go out. I normally take my daughter and or wife to work, and then I go and walk the dog. So by the time I'm walking the dog, it's normally about 8:15, 8:30. And that's the first time I start to feel alive.
Yeah.
which is kind of tying into what you've just said. And I hadn't thought of this before. So I'm now out in the wind, the rain, the sunshine, whatever is going on, walking the dog, and I'm thinking, yes, right, this is where my day starts. Yes.
Yeah.
So all the bit before doesn't really do anything. It's the bit when I get outside. That's interesting.
You get outside.
Yeah.
It's really, even if we, as I say, I think even it says if you just stand in front of a window, the light, so that you've got the sunlight coming in, you've got the daylight coming in, the strong light, that's enough, when you wake up in the morning, just to get that energy boost into you. So we'll all be standing at our windows now like that. Okay, let the energy.
Yes.
The light come to me.
Yes, I'm just thinking we've got a red light on in the background, and now we're standing.
Stand in front of the window.
Yeah, okay. The other shout out I will do is for the NHS, actually. We all love the NHS, of course we do. But if you Google sleep problems and head on off to the NHS, they ask you to do a little quiz. I think there's 5 questions, I think, and you answer those 5 questions, a bit straightforward, and it gives you a result and tells you what kind of sleep problems that you may have. And it then gives you a plan and makes suggestions of an action plan for you. And you can either just read that on the screen, or you can press a button and it will email that plan to you. So you can print it off and keep it, or put it on your phone and keep it, or whatever you want to do. But I was quite impressed because I answered all the questions as if I didn't have a sleep problem, and it pretty much said as much, but it did say you could try this, this, and this. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, what if I've got really bad sleep problems? So I put in all the worst answers then to these 5 questions. Oh, yes, I'm always anxious. Yes, I'm always stressed, and so on. And I got a completely different set of things that were recommended. And the great thing is that not each, but several of the suggestions say, or if you don't like this idea, skip it and replace it with something else. So one might be, say, watching a video. I don't know, watch a video. So you skip it and it says, read this. I like reading. I'll do this then. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Or listen to this podcast. Yeah. So I'll do that. Yeah. So I'll just go through and tell you some of the things that it gave me. So the first thing was try a free online course. And it then takes you to a link that allows you to choose an online course that you're happy with. That's great. It's not all just one thing. Yeah. Move more every day. So it says try a 10-minute home workout, and it actually gives you the plan for that workout. Or you can say, no, I'm not going to do that. No, swap it for something else. You swap it for something else, and you get something else to do that's going to get you moving every day. Make time to chat with a friend each week, do this, do that, etc. Don't like that idea? Okay, swap it. Watch a video, swap it, listen to a podcast. Yeah. So you've got various things, various options for each thing. 4, download the Catch It app, which I've never heard of. But the Catch It app teaches you how to turn negative thoughts into positive ones and improve your mental well-being. So when we're finished, I will be going off to have a look and see what the Catch It app is. Yeah, I'm thinking, that sounds like good fun. Yeah.
I think we'll know that. Catch It, is it Catch It?
Catch It, yes. I think it's an I, or it might be a capital T, but I think it's Catch IT or Catch LT.
Okay.
Yeah.
Catch It. Okay.
And again, if you don't want to download another app, you can swap it and get something else that will do the same thing. Take time to reflect. Not for you. Don't want to reflect on things. Swap it. Get another idea. So 6, be prepared, feel calm. So if you have a busy day or week coming out, spend a little time planning before you go to bed. Think about what you can organise or pack the night before, and plan some short breaks in the day. Don't like this idea? Swap it. Etc. 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 It's like it's like really good stuff. So I thought that was worth a quick shout out for anybody that is having sleep problems, particularly as an adult. But I think it didn't read as if it was particularly aimed at children. It was more aimed at adults. But I'm sure that there is an awful lot of stuff there that you can apply to children as well. As I say, I didn't read everything, but I'm sure there is stuff there that's appropriate for children as well. I just thought that's a really good tool, really good news.
No, that's really, it's a really practical thing as well, because people can use it and that you can have it on their phones, and you know, it's a step by step and they can use it, and it might be useful for like teenagers as well. You know, there might be quite appropriate stuff there, so it's a little bit more geared towards the sort of adult side, but you know, for teenagers it's giving them something more practical to do, and as you see, you can swap it out and you've got a little bit of choice, where some of the stuff maybe we were talking before more aligned to younger people, you know, so it gives them that different option.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll need to check that one out too. Capture, got me note of that.
Yes. It's interesting because I had a conversation with a client, well, probably a year ago, and he had spent 28 years in the army. And he said to me that sleep or lack of sleep will kill you before a lack of food or water does.
Yep.
And I took that as verbatim. Yeah, I thought, oh, he obviously knows what he's talking about. Yeah. But I've researched today to try and find out if that's true. And I can't find anything that will actually back that up. Yeah. I think, yes, you would go stark raving mad, but in terms of actually dying, I don't think the actual lack of sleep will kill you. It might make you reckless, might make you gamble on things, might make you do things you wouldn't normally do, might make you hallucinate. So there's a good chance that you'll kill yourself.
Yeah, you're in the process, yeah.
But the actual sleep deprivation is not, or doesn't appear to, from what I could read today, doesn't appear to be able to kill you. But you will probably die. So it's reckoned that 3 days without sleep is acutely dangerous. Yeah. 2 days is not great. A day is not great. A few hours is not great. Yeah. But when you get to 3 days, that's kind of the pivotal point that the scientists are saying, yeah, then you need to get some intervention. You need to get some sleep because you are becoming a dangerous person to yourself and to others by virtue of what you'll do. So if you happen to be that person who's not getting sleep or is that sleep deprived, then you need to get some medication. You need to go and get some intervention, go and see a GP and get some attention because that's not great. Yeah.
It's as you say, it's not like, you know, the act of it, you know, the sleep deprivation, you know, without food and water, you know, you know, physically your body will, you know, it needs that, but you know, the sleep also needs it physically and mentally. But I think it's the fact that after several days of no sleep, you can't function, because we know for your brain to work effectively, it needs to rest and it needs time to recharge and to process all the stuff that it takes in. Interesting when you were saying that there, I've got a wee note here saying that and Amnesty International actually lists sleep deprivation as a form of torture.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, you know, as it's used, you know, in that way, because we'll be more submissive because, you know, the body needs sleep. It craves sleep. And it's funny because as human beings, we naturally, the first thing that we will sacrifice in our lives is sleep. We will sacrifice sleep over anything else for work or for partying or for making sure we get that in before, you know, the end of the week. We will always sacrifice sleep over something else. You know, and it's the one thing that we can't function properly. So even though we'll sacrifice it and we'll say that I'll do an all-nighter to turn that in, we actually can't function properly the next day. So I was reading as well today, it was quite interesting, is that all your good, you know, athletic performers, they'll either do the solid 7 hours, 8 hours sleep a day, or they'll nap. You know, they'll work it so that they'll maybe nap throughout the day, and then they'll have a shorter, and you know, longer period overnight. But things like top violinists and stuff like that, sleep is the top violinist also reported that except for practice itself, sleep was second most important factor in improving as a violinist. So they include sleep in their performance portfolio, as in this is what we need to do as part of our practice sessions, we have to have sleep. and you'll find that with anybody, top performers, anything like that, then they will include that in part of their in their structure in their training program. There's a priority on sleep, and I think the rest of us, we tend to just forego it too easily.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because sleep deprivation is not just having zero sleep.
Yeah.
It's also having not enough sleep for a prolonged period of time.
Yeah, so not getting that quality sleep.
Myself, in my younger years, I used to be an estate agent. I worked incredibly hard, and I was surviving on about 4 hours of sleep a night and no time off, working 7 days a week, 14, 15, 16 hours a day, 3 or 4 hours sleep a night, back up, do the same again and again and again and again. I can't remember how long it was. It was probably 5 or 6 weeks. And I'm driving to work. It's 6 o'clock in the morning, and there's a leopard in the road.
You're thinking, oh,
what the? Slammed on the brakes of the car and just sat there staring at this leopard until eventually someone has come along behind me and they've tooted, and I've gone, ah. There's no leopard. No,
yeah.
there wasn't, there isn't. I need to go home. Yes.
I'm starting to hallucinations, I'm having that, and it's the same, alcohol and substance issues. It gives us the same outcome or the same symptoms. We go through the same process with sleep deprivation as we would if we were under the influence of either of substances. Yeah,
really, like, well, not a nice place to go. Yeah.
I think I'll go home now and go back to bed. Yeah.
Yes. So I've then got secrets of sleep. Should we do that?
Yes, yeah.
No, in fact, we'll do this one. So sleep deprivation can kill you, as that's where we just were. Here's what sleeping less than 7 hours per night does to your body and brain. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is just downloaded from the internet. So it's linked to a higher risk of certain cancers. So if you're getting less than 7 hours of sleep every night, you're heightening the possibility of getting certain cancers. Skin doesn't heal as well from damage when you're tired, leading to skin aging. Tired people have a harder time controlling their impulses, potentially leading to unhealthy behavior and weight gain. Weight gain because you can't resist the food. Unhealthy behavior could be anything, could be reckless behavior, could be gambling, could be taking chances in relationships, in your sexual life, and so on and so on.
Yeah, and it could also be because we then reach out for ways to help us relax. So we then turn to alcohol. I'll have the glass of wine. I'll have the nightcap before bed because it will help me sleep. So we start to develop these unhealthy patterns.
Yes.
By telling ourselves that this will make me sleep, and it doesn't.
People feel lonelier after a sleepless night, and being lonely makes it harder to sleep well. So that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, a self-perpetuating thing where you don't sleep well tonight, so you feel lonely, you won't sleep well tonight, and so on and so on. Being sleepy makes it harder to learn and disrupts your short-term memory. Because we know short-term memory is a conscious brain function, but that gets interrupted by a lack of sleep. Your long-term memory is fine, but your short-term memory is shot. Yeah, because of that lack of sleep. Long-term sleep deprivation also does damage the long-term memory. So yes, you can still form long-term memories, but the existing long-term memories may become lost or damaged or warped in some way. There's growing evidence of links with bad sleep and signs of Alzheimer's in the brain. So getting less than those 7 hours is going to encourage the onset of Alzheimer's. And certainly the effects on the brain are similar to Alzheimer's. Heart disease risk rises with sleep deprivation. Sleepiness, this is not going to surprise anyone, this one. sleepiness leads to irritability.
Yeah.
Oh, no, never do that.
Waking up in the morning and you're crabbit.
Yeah,
You're just like, "Urgh." Yeah.
yes. The longer people go without sleep, the harder it is for them to see clearly. People sometimes even experience hallucinations when they're sleep
Oh,
deprived,
yeah.
as we just said. Yes. Sleep deprived people have slower reactions. So
Yeah.
again, it's like the alcohol and the drugs. They slow down the reactions. Well, sleep deprivation does the same thing. Yeah. It makes us clumsier. So if you were playing football, you're more likely to miss the ball. If you're just playing a game of catch, you're more likely to not catch the ball. Your eye-hand coordination starts to erode. The immune system doesn't work as well when you're tired. Well, we all want our immune system right now with COVID around, so get to sleep.
Let's get some sleep. Yeah.
Overtired people are more susceptible to colds. I've never thought of that, but the people I think of as being coldy type people, because there's always people in your circle that always have a cold, isn't there? Yeah. They also tend to be the more tired people. Yeah, it's like, I hadn't really put that together, but yes, they
Yeah,
tend to
it's
be
because
tired people.
I suppose as you said there, because I think was it myself or you touched on it, it's about your immunity. So if you're getting a good rest, it's improving your overall health because your body's getting its downtime to recharge. And you know, when we sleep, all of our body goes through that process of cleansing. You know, so all of our organs cleanse itself through the night, which is why they suggest in the morning you get up, you have a nice big glass of water to flush out the toxins. Just another wee add one on there. But so your immunity system, your immunity gets affected if we don't have enough sleep because all of that process is not happening. So therefore, you are going to be more susceptible to colds. Yeah.
Being tired drains your sex drive and makes it harder to perform.
Well, tiredness is going to do that.
Sleepy people express more unhappiness and signs of depression, goes without saying. Risk of type 2 diabetes rises when people are overtired, even though they may not be overweight. So type 2 diabetes, or the liability for it, increases through fatigue. Tiredness is associated with bad decision making that can put lives and finances in danger.
Exactly.
So if you are a gambler and you're worrying about it and therefore you're not sleeping, chances are you're going to gamble more and lose more and worry more and sleep less and gamble more and so on and so on. It's a downward spiral.
Sit down, yeah. Yeah.
Sleepy people are more easily distracted. Yeah, get that. It's harder to concentrate. So yes,
You can't focus, yeah.
Tiredness makes it hard to speak normally. So it actually impacts their ability to speak.
Because you find yourself, if you're overly tired, I say to myself, I say sometimes in the morning I'm talking and if I've not slept well, I fumble over my words and I'll say, oh, I can't sleep today. Or if I've had a really exhausting day, you know, and it's been session after session or whatever, I then go to talk to someone and I'm like, and I go, I can't speak today. And it's because, you know, you're so tired, your brain's just like, oh, okay, that's us, I've had enough now. You know, you can't form the sentence. Yeah.
Like driving drunk, driving tired can lead to more car accidents. Yeah, figures.
This is not a statistic, I don't know what it is, but you know, more accidents are caused by sleep, you know, tiredness than they are by being under the influence of alcohol or drugs. I could be making that up, I don't know, but I know there's something there about it, isn't there? Yeah, somewhere.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we know that about 80% of our driving is done by the unconscious mind. So that 20% that is now suffering, so the 20% of our conscious mind that is now suffering from fatigue and tiredness, if that 20% can't take control and is passing more of that control across to the unconscious, that's dangerous. Yeah. So the 95% of your driving becomes unconscious. Not a good thing.
Yeah. We're only depending on that 5%. You know, that's not good odds.
No, I don't like those odds. No. Tiredness is connected to your own overproduction. I'll just read this actually. So when people sleep, the body slows down its normal urine production. But when someone is sleep deprived, that doesn't happen, leading to what researchers call excess nocturnal urine production. This condition may be linked to bedwetting in children. In adults, it's tied to what's called nocturia, the need to use the bathroom many times during the night. So yeah, if you're not sleeping, you pee a lot.
You pee a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is it, yeah. You toss and turn, I'll go to the toilet. You toss and turn, I'll go to the toilet, yeah.
As you need sleep for muscles to get stronger, because they won't get stronger if you're not sleeping, because as you were saying earlier, they do all their repair work at night.
At night, yeah.
Sleeplessness makes pain harder to cope with. To gastrointestinal issues, sleepiness is associated with headaches. So I suffer from a condition called cluster headaches. So we all know what a migraine is, yeah. And many of us have suffered from migraines. So cluster headaches is like an extreme version of migraine, but not quite in the same family. But so a migraine is probably about 100 times worse than a normal headache. A cluster headache is about 1,000 times worse than a migraine. So it's acute pain, like paralyzing pain. So when I get one of these headaches, I'm poleaxed. I can't do anything. Yeah. So I've not been able to establish a link with those headaches or the migraines I get with a lack of sleep. They tend to be a change in my stress level, either up or down. Strangely, more often when I'm coming down from a stressful situation rather than going into one. So yeah, I get it that sleepiness is associated with headaches for sure. Disrupted sleep cycles lead to more inflammation, which could worsen asthma, arthritis, and cardiovascular disease. If snoring or sleep apnea is causing disruption, it could lead to serious health problems. Poor sleep disrupts genetic activity, which may explain some of the health risks of getting too little rest. At any given time, people who haven't got the right amount of sleep are more likely to die.
That's a nice,
isn't it?
a nice hearing note there.
Yes.
Get some sleep.
Yes, exactly that. Yes, if you're not getting the right amount of sleep, do something about it.
Get some sleep. Yeah, but it's a very serious issue, and I think, as I say, as humans, and as I mentioned earlier, we are quite easy to sacrifice for sleep over, we get caught up, in the whole let's sit and watch the box set, and we do it, you do it yourself. I find myself, I'm one of these ones who get into something that if I read a book and I love it, or I find a box set that I really like, I want to keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. And there's no, that switch off is not there. So sometimes you can say about, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, I'll go to bed. Then you're still expecting yourself to get up the next morning and go through the process. And then the next thing, 2 nights later, you're not sleeping well. Then you're going, why am I not sleeping tonight? And it's because you've completely knocked your routine out. Your body clock has gone, what are you doing? This is, I don't know what I'm meant to be doing anymore. You're confusing me. You're sending me the wrong signals. And we do that, we go partying, we'll do it for work reasons. Obviously, we do it when we were younger. We have younger children. That's part of that process, but it should be short-lived. But yes, as humans, we do tend to sacrifice our sleep over anything else. And going through what you've just said there, we really shouldn't be, because it is one of the most important things about our health, and maintaining that health. So we should, it's as important as food and water.
It absolutely is. Yeah, I mean, if you're not getting enough sleep, you do need to take action about it. There's no point sitting up all night worrying about it, not sleeping. You need to do something about it. Yeah. That's
what I say to people all the time. If you think it's a problem, it'll be a problem. Yeah. Don't worry about it. The more you worry about it, if you keep worrying about it, then so yeah. Stop worrying. Just stop it. Yeah. But it's an important message, very important message.
Yes. So I'm just looking to see if any of our attendees wish to ask any questions, but I don't think there are any questions from our attendees.
No, I think there's no questions. It's I think they're just it's all interesting from us. I just had a couple of things I wanted to add in. Just a couple of things we've covered off. I don't know if you've got anything else that you wanted to mention there to Ian before I just add in a couple of extra things. Really, lots of interesting things. I've found it quite interesting just doing a little bit of research on this, and we all think we know enough about sleep, and as you know, practitioners and what we do, then we think, oh well, we know we've got it, routine. There's certain things about sleep, but I've learned a lot today, and even yesterday when I was, I've learned loads. One of the things I wanted to mention is, and I never really thought about it this way, but is do we think about sleep as an activity? So when we go to the gym, we put on our workout gear when we go to work, depending on the job that we've got. But when we go to work, some of us have a uniform, or some of us have a professional clothing that we'll wear. When we're at home, we maybe put our loungewear on. So we've got our professional wear, we've got our loungewear, we've got our workout gear. But what about sleep? Some of us don't necessarily think about what do we wear when we go to bed. So we just put something on. For me, I'm quite sensory that way. So what I wear to bed is quite important. And if it's not right, then I don't sleep because it's uncomfortable and it's twisty and it's annoying and it's scratchy. So I think it's important we need to think about put some thought into what we're wearing to bed and the quality for sleep. And that's probably particularly important for young people, for children who maybe aren't able to tell us that what they're wearing isn't comfortable, and maybe more so with children who have the high sensory issues. We can be waking up in the middle of the night due to overheating. Sometimes young people might just be too warm in bed. They've got a duvet on, they've got big thick pajamas on, or they've got a onesie on, and a lot of the onesies nowadays are fleecy. So you've got that, then you've got a duvet on top of it, and then on top of that you've also probably got heating on in the room too. So it's thinking about what is a comfortable sleeping position. Are they waking up, what you were saying there about young people maybe making up through the night and they're coming through to their parents. It could be separation anxiety. It could just be that they're being disturbed in their sleep because of perhaps the temperature of the room. It could be light that's disturbing them, maybe lights from outside, or it could just be what they're wearing is uncomfortable, and it's not good for them. So it's maybe about understanding what is going on around about us to make sure that we've got that sensory stuff covered. Is there maybe a noise or a light outside that's maybe shining in that's kind of upsetting them? So what outside stimuli is there that may be upsetting their sleep pattern? And just what are they wearing to bed? Are they too warm? Check the temperature of the room, set it to a comfortable temperature. That could be different from each of us, but try and understand what works for you. I love a freezing cold room. I can't sleep in a warm room. I walk into a warm room and I just think I'm just going to leave again. And I know if I go into a warm room, I'm going to be up the whole night because I'm uncomfortable and I can't wear it. But I like a freezing cold room with the window open. Yes. That's not everybody's cup of tea. It's everybody's. Some people are like, you walk in the room, it's like, it's like chatter. You actually don't want to get, you get into bed, you just I don't want to stay here. I'm not going to go back out again. But so it's important just to keep in mind temperature when we're sleeping and what is the stimuli that's going on. When you're young, your kids are going to bed, is there still a lot of noise in the house that's maybe disturbing them and sort of waking them up before it's time for us to go to bed? So it's just thinking about all of the sensory things that's going on that could possibly help to either relax your children better, relax yourself better, and give you a more comfortable sleep. The other thing I know there's one I read which I thought was quite interesting, but there's a sleep hoodie that you can get. Right. A sleep hoodie.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah, it's called a sleep hoodie. So what it's saying here is cotton t-shirts hold onto moisture and help to insulate your body. That means it is not letting heat from your body escape, causing you to overheat and wake up. So if you're wearing cotton to bed, then you potentially could overheat and then wake up. This also applies if you're using clothing, sheets or duvets that are prone to trapping heat, so if they're not breathable. So you might want to be warm, but you also want your body to breathe. So I found it quite interesting that these things, what it does is it comes with, it's kind of like a hoodie that you can pull over. So it's like a long sleeve top. You pull it over and then it's got like a wee mask attached to it as well. So it kind of blocks out the light, but and I think for people that are very, very sensory, it brings up, so it blocks out noise for them. It kind of keeps them feel safe because they've got this around them. Blocks out the light, but it's also breathable fabric, so it helps to maintain their temperatures through the night. I've never seen it before, but I was actually like, oh, this is amazing. I really like this. So yeah, this is called, and you can find out about it. I came across it on a website which is really interesting. It got a lot of really helpful tips. It's called Build Better Sleep, and it's a professional sleep coach. And yeah, there's such a thing as a sleep hoodie that you can buy, which people might find quite useful. A sleep hoodie.
Yeah, I've got a couple of clients who have used weighted blankets.
Yeah.
So they seem to be reassuring for those that need that.
They need that, the healing, that deep pressure. Yeah, they need that healing cuddle. And then you've got the other ones who don't really want anything and they just want like maybe a light sheet on them. So sometimes we make our children have a big duvet on them because we think it's the right thing, but maybe they just need a light sheet and they'll feel they'll have a better temperature. And then talking about the temperature, the best temperature for deep quality sleep. Now this is obviously in American language, but it says the ideal temperature to sleep in is between 60 and 68 degrees. So that'd be Fahrenheit. I'm not too sure what that would be in Celsius.
No, don't know.
I'm not very good at doing that conversion. But yeah, so just take the temperature of the room. It's maybe worth checking that out to make sure that it's at the right temperature to get a comfortable sleep where we're not overheating. Because a lot of the time that's when you wake up through the night, it is because you overheat. You mentioned earlier about the digestive system. So if we eat late at night, then our body or temperature will be affected because of the digestive system working, and then that's why we wake up through the night when we've had a heavy meal. And then what we fact want to say is a word I came across today is called Dysania, which is the state of finding it hard to get out of bed in the morning. There you go. There's an actual name for it. It's called Dysania, Dysania. What I found most interesting was we've all no doubt found it tricky getting out of bed before, but those suffering from dysania find it particularly difficult. It's most likely to be a form of chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So thought that was quite interesting.
My daughter phones her boss tomorrow and said, look, I got a real bad dose of dysania.
We like to use that one. Oh, I've got dysania. That word that we want to use, isn't it?
Yes.
And then I've got one here.
The guy that used to ring me when he was late for work, he said, look, I'm really sorry. I had some real bad problems with my back this morning. Oh, no, Andy, I'm sorry to hear that, mate. Yeah. He says, yeah, I couldn't get it off the bed.
He's got dysania. There's a word you can use. And the other thing I think interesting is high earners earning from 65,000 to 75,000, possibly above, get the best sleep.
Yeah.
Interestingly, yeah.
Because they can afford the best bed?
I don't know, possibly, but there's an interesting fact. So it does come from a report by the Sleep Council. I'm not just making it up. But yeah, so it does say high earners between that bracket do get the best sleep. So yeah, maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe that's what we need to do. Okay, yeah, that was just a couple of little interesting facts I wanted to add.
Yeah, that's good.
And I suppose the last one I wanted to add was a giraffe only needs 1.9 hours of sleep a day.
Sorry, a giraffe?
A giraffe only needs 1.9 hours sleep a day. So if we want to be very productive, then we want to be a giraffe.
Blimey, yeah.
The longest sleeping one is a brown bat. Practically 20 hours a day it sleeps. Fluttering. And the least amount is, where are we? An African elephant, 2 hours.
Blimey.
Which differs to an Asian elephant at 4 hours. Don't really know what the difference is there. But, yeah.
Oh, they're lazy, those Asian elephants.
Yeah. A little fun facts there at the end. But yes, no, that was my fun fact. Sorry.
Great stuff.
Anything else from your side, Ian?
No, I'm all done.
Brilliant. I think that's us then. So I think hopefully maybe we've sent a few people to sleep already. That would be good.
Maybe we have. Yeah. Play this video. Get a good night's sleep.
But make sure if you're doing it at bedtime, make sure you listen to it, not watch it. Yeah. We don't want you watching the blue screen. Yeah, so listen to it. So avoid blue. As I suppose to recap is, if we want to get a decent sleep, is make sure that we are sort of keeping the blue screen to a minimal, removing the electronics out of the room, getting a good established routine in place. Making sure that we're getting enough daylight and activity during the day to help stimulate the serotonin and therefore the natural melatonin that we need in the evening to encourage that natural sleep. Another one is gentle stretching before bed is very good. That's good at settling. Not like full on, body pumper, really active, but just something that's nice and gentle, nice gentle yoga stretches and really good. Check the temperature of your room, check that you're comfortable in your sleeping environment, think about the sensory stimuli that's going on around about you, and keep a check on when you're going to bed, and keep that consistency in your routine. The more you establish a routine, then the more you'll fall into a natural sleeping pattern. And the good thing about, and I suppose maybe the disappointing thing, maybe people don't want to hear, Ian, is when we say establish a routine, that kind of probably has to be 7 days a week. So not Monday to Friday and then go wild at the weekend, because that has a knock-on effect. So sorry, folks, you need to keep that consistency 7 days a week. So Friday and Saturday night, it's tucked up in bed 10 o'clock. I'm sure they'll love us for that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But yes, we hope you found that really interesting. And when you're listening back on it on the our Superheroes YouTube channel, there's lots more coming up. We've got a few more webinars to come over the next few weeks. And I think there's one next week. I don't think there's any more this week, but there is one next week, which will make a slight change to it, about limiting screen time. And that will be myself on Monday that will be delivering that webinar. So if you're interested in that, then please join us on Monday evening. But there is lots more. If you've registered, you will find them on the email that's been sent to you and been shared to you. But I think that's all from us this evening then, apart from...
Yes, I know there's a self-harm one that Gemma's doing on the 29th, which you're into. Self-harm is a big thing out there at the moment.
Yeah.
I was at school on Monday, said earlier, and I guess half of the people I saw were self-harmers. So yeah, it's a very topical thing. So that will be a good one to tune into.
I think that would be very good, yeah.
I'll see you there. Yes.
Yeah, I think I'll be tuning into that to myself, because it's a big thing in schools just now, and it's a self-harm is a big thing when it's about when it's linked with anxiety. We know self-harm is something that young people will use as a way to deal with anxiety. So definitely worth tuning into that one. And there is a few more, but I think from Ian and I, just thank you for listening to us. We hope you've found some interesting facts from us today and some fun facts, and we hope you find it helpful and it helps you with any sleeping problems that you may have been experiencing. But if you are have consistent sleep problems and it is looking into that, we're not getting enough sleep, make sure it doesn't become sleep deprivation, and obviously go and get some medical advice. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, right, thank you very much. Okay, good night everyone, and sleep well.
Good night.
Okay.